Good morning and welcome into Boston has entered the chat live from the Salem 5 studios on this Thursday, and we've got a loaded crew for you to walk you through Boston's top headlines and trending topics across all sports. Kasey Hudson alongside Adam Kaufman and Lucy Burdge. Don't forget, guys, Boston's Under the Chat is not only interactive, but it's basically the group chat that you were, putting all the news in with your best friends. We are your besties for the day. You can give us a call at 617-790-0928, or if Twitter, X, whatever the case may be, is your thing, hashtag NessinChat can bring you in to the conversation. I mentioned a loaded cast, but we also have plenty to get into on this Thursday, because on the docket, well, the Red Sox continue to show us that they have ice in their veins. You guys have all seen the celebration, right? I probably don't do it as well. And then we had everything from, go-ahead home runs to Bello crushing it on the mound through 6 2/3 innings, 6 strikeouts. We love to see, and we got to give him his flowers. Let's not leave out the drama going on in New England. The 53-man roster was solidified for the Patriots, but that didn't come without a few little breakups or lack thereof. What's it like to be in a breakup that you don't know that you're a part of? Mike Vrapel lets us know throughout the show, and then we get some trending topics going and a little bit more love for hockey season being on the horizon. I tease it. Let's start with the red-hot Red Sox. Adam Kaufman, it is your Boston is Under the Chat debut. I defer to you from last night's game.
Yeah, last night was obviously a ton of fun. The dramatics of yet another ninth inning comeback win, down 2-1. Cedanne Rafaela, who was part of a defensive miscue a couple innings earlier that allowed the Orioles to take the brief lead in that game, ends up being the hero, a guy who has struggled so mightily of late, a sub-200 batting average out of the All-Star break, and yet responds in the clutch the way that he's kind of wired to do and built to do. And, it's just this team keeps finding a way. Am I going to say it reminds me necessarily of some of the past and recent World Series champions that we've seen come through Boston? They got a lot to prove still when it comes to that, obviously. But it doesn't go away. This group it doesn't quit. There's no, ever kind of just hitting the pause button and just sort of adjusting. It's all right, well, whatever. We blew it. Fine, we'll take this one. Crochet's on the mound tomorrow. He's our ace. We can get 3 out of 4. Still a great series. We take no. Let's go out for the damn sweep. That's what Boston's looking to do, and responds accordingly, obviously. And now they are well positioned to not only get this sweep with Crochet on the mound, which I'm sure we'll get to a certain degree, but also
to win the World Series.
Win the World Series, or at least, why can't they win the division? They're sitting 4 games behind Toronto for the division lead right now with a month still to go.
Yeah, and you kind of allude to it. This team is really scrappy. It's hard to get them out of any sort of mix, but it starts with their mentality, and they've made it clear what this clubhouse rallies behind, and all of them playing for one another, which has continued to help. I like to say that we've at least seen them win in different ways. You say respond, and that's probably one of the perfect ways to describe this team, at least when it comes to consistency. Their consistency in responding has really flexed over the past week and a half. They've had the scrappy wins, they've had the close ones, they've had the gutting wins, and they've had the big blowouts where they're just loading up on runs and making it look like an easy heyday. What did you enjoy when it came to this game last night?
Yeah, name a thing that happens in baseball. This game had it. This game had everything. It had first of all,
all hail the Roman Empire.
Roman Empire is in full swing. He is now the youngest player to hit multiple leadoff homers in a single road series. He's breaking records all over the place because
copy
of his
and paste
age and his talent. Yeah, exactly. Then you have things from overturned calls to the way this game went for the Red Sox could have gone many different ways, and they gutted out this win. They came back. They were able to overcome mistakes, and in the past maybe they were a team that didn't do those things, and they did. So they are showing the guts and the grit of a team that can go far, perhaps to a championship, maybe. But what I enjoyed most
that was very delicate, Lucy.
Right?
Maybe a championship.
Maybe that maybe is there to just say, maybe, perhaps. I don't want to jinx anything, of course. I would never just full out say it, of course. But the setup and the drama of this, the setup for them to they were winning and then they were not because of mistakes that were made, but they overcame them. And the setup there for Cedanne Rafaela and Jarren Duran to be the ones to, first of all, have that miscue in the outfield, but then to come back in those two, scripted.
Poetic.
We love poetry.
The game. We love this.
Yep.
So they won the game for them, just boom, boom. And then Chapman was the one to finish it off. But the way that this game played out, it had everything.
Yeah.
But the drama, the setup for that was what I enjoyed the most.
We'll be throwing Willie Colon on replay just to continue to honor Chapman and the fact that he is an absolute hero. I want to hand out capes versus the Wally head, but that might be contested. You said guts and glory. I think that's a perfect way to put that. But let's hear how Alex Cora evaluated not only the win, but the coaching staff's hand in the win.
How satisfying was it to be able to get that victory?
It was a good one, especially, those two, helping us win. There was some miscommunication, I guess. I haven't asked them, but in that ball in left center, and, to Jaron get the hit against the lefty, and then Cedanne getting that pitch to hit and hit it out of the ballpark, that was cool to see.
How clutch is Cedanne? I mean, he's got 3 go-ahead home runs, or three go-ahead or game-winning home runs this year. I mean, how clutch has he been for you guys?
Hasn't been clutch in a while. it's been scuffling, but he's been working hard with the group. Ramon Vasquez actually won the game today. On our way to the hotel yesterday, we were talking about the bullpen game and all that, and trying to split up the lefties and how we're going to do it, thinking that they were going to bring the righty right away. He said, let's hit Rafaela 5th, and, they have a lefty on the mound. He faces Jaron, he gets a hit, and Cedanne gets to face a lefty, and he's out of the ballpark. So I tip my hat to him. It's total team effort here. It's not about a one-man show, whatever. Everybody contributes, and that was a fun one.
And when he suggested that, what did you think or say?
Let's go. Yeah, I trust him. We've been together since 1996, and he knows me. He knows how I operate. Something I learned in 2008 when Tito told me that I was going to be a big league manager. You have to delegate. You have to trust the people around you, and this coaching staff is doing an outstanding job.
Strategy and trust, 2 key words there, but it's the strategy that really makes you fall in love with the game of baseball. That whole baseball isn't boring. It has really, really landed with me as of late. And when it comes to the trust factor, knowing that Chapman can shut things down for you, hasn't let up a hit since July 26th. Let's start there for a second, Adam, before we go over to Cedanne Rafaela and calling what he wanted to execute in this game.
Yeah, Chapman has been lights out. I think if you're sort of casually tuning in and out of the Red Sox and not a diehard paying attention, obviously, to every pitch
Going
of every
through the
game,
emotional roller coaster, you mean?
All of it. You probably don't realize this guy has an ERA of like a flat 1. He's been I know he's been
That's
literally
sick,
literally unhittable over his last 14 appearances, like you said, but he's been virtually unhittable the entire season. He has been, obviously deserved. And remember, this is a guy that a lot of people were like, the Red Sox are signing Chapman because of obviously, he's a former Yankee and all this stuff. Well, obviously he comes in and all of a sudden a fan favorite. But, to your point, at least to a degree about strategy, I say to a degree because, also some things need to break the right way.
Yes.
Let's not forget how well Lucas Giolito played in the game prior in not needing Chapman,
yes,
which allowed for his availability in the 9th inning of this game to put it away in the first place and to be fresh and not have to lean on him. And I think that's, we can talk about Chapman or obviously all the different guys that came through offensively, but that again sort of goes back to just what this starting rotation has been doing of late. We've been talking about Crochet all season long, and we should be. He might be the Cy Young Award winner ultimately. But since mid-June, Crochet, Brayan Bello, Lucas Giolito, these guys all have, mid-2 ERAs or better. Bello was awesome yesterday. He is tied for the Major League lead with 13 quality starts. I know it's not, FIP and all the blah, blah, blah plus and all the other crap that people care about now.
And all the things.
Quality starts are a thing of the past or whatever, but it matters. He is, yesterday doesn't reach 100 pitches, but he's largely efficient, didn't have any 20-pitch innings, was kind of in and out throughout over his last 2 games against the Orioles, who stink, and obviously the Yankees, who are very good, call him what you want. He has been elite. He has been absolutely awesome and coming up at the right time.
Yeah.
So living up to all the, well, not living up to, that would be crazy, but I wanted to make the comparison to what, when he was coming up, it was like Pedro Martinez, you got the next Pedro Martinez. Is he that? No. But what he is an ace on a lot of teams across baseball. Just so happen he's not your ace because you have Garrett Crochet, who is maybe the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, and all we've wanted to see out of Bello at least over the course of the last, let's say, 2-3 months, is just the maturity and the growth. We were talking about him having more stability over his emotions so that he can keep himself into games, and then going deeper into innings, or going deeper into games as well. So we're seeing that result, and I would say at the perfect time of this season. Basically, what you described was a clutch gear, and somebody else who was super clutch was Cedanne Rafaela. I don't know, a go-ahead home run. Let's hear from him and his thoughts on coming in clutch for this Red Sox team.
Well, Cedanne, it was a strange game for you. How satisfying was it to be able to come through and pick up the team in that spot after you and Jaron had saw that ball drop in the 7th?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of baseball. You got to keep going. Yeah, we have a miscommunication there, but we kept it going, and we did it, us two, in the ninth.
You got JD leading off the 9th with the single. You got a 1-1 count against Aiken. What is your approach in that situation?
I was going deep.
The whole time you saw it?
Yes.
To be able to come through in that spot, how big was that?
It was great. I think having tough times, wanted to have the team, and finally came through. Yeah, I mean, I feel great right now.
You called it saying you were going deep. That's the second time this year that you've had the go-ahead home run in the 9th inning. What is it about those spots where you seem to be able to come through with your back against the wall?
You know, my team expect me to. They know. Yeah, my team, they behind me. They supported me. But no, it's just keep it calm and not trying to do too much. Just do my best.
All right, Cedanne, I felt like this moment was building, man. I know you give me a hard time, but appreciate you talking with us.
Thank you.
I was going deep, no question about that, or at least you can have the confidence about it after the fact and knowing that you were able to support such a statement. Do we think that Crochet can find such support in tonight's matchup, Lucy?
Oh, I absolutely think so, and I have some bets to back that up as well. So Trevor's Story home run. I like because
Trevor Story plays pretty hot when Crochet's on the mound.
This is very true. This is very true. Roman Anthony 2 or more bases is a bet that I am loving lately, especially because he's been hitting home runs.
Right at the beginning.
Lead off. Maybe also a Yurfie, perhaps, if you think Roman Anthony is going to go deep, maybe in the first inning. Take a yes run first inning bet and say that there will be a run in the first inning. Could be any team. Yes, a Yurfie. Roman Anthony 2 or more bases, Trevor Story home run, and like last night's game, it looked to be a point where you think Bello deserves better. They have let him down again, and no, they didn't. So that is something that I don't think will happen in this game today as well.
In between last night's moments and today's bets, I'm a bad friend to ask this, but did we get a going to the World Series tweet?
Yes, we did. Whenever they win a game, we get a World Series.
Whenever they win a game,
whenever
can it
they
be
win
a dramatic win?
No, it has to be any win.
Any win.
Because
No.
Guts, glory,
Make it a special win.
completely out of control. Well, you know what?
Well-
We have a fan that might agree with you. Take a listen here to maybe some other Red Sox fans that think the World Series is in play.
The Red Sox are winning the World Series this year.
Lucy,
Oh.
you are not alone.
Was that me? Did I call it?
No, that was a very young gentleman. One
Was
would
that
think.
one of my kids?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I honestly don't know, but if it was, go to school. Like, what are you? What,
You have somewhere to be.
hang up the phone.
But Adam
go to
Kaufman,
school.
if this is your child calling and saying that the Red Sox are going to the World Series, how do we get you on board here?
Oh, look, the
What else do they have to do at this point?
It's honestly less about Boston and the vibes and how well the Sox are playing and all of that. It's more about the American
Kaufman
League.
is not a vibes guy.
The American League, I ooze vibes. The American League is wide open. There's no dominant team in the American League. We all thought it was, the Tigers, obviously, and then they all of a sudden fall apart after the All-Star break for a little while, and I know they've kind of righted the ship a little bit since. Or like the Blue Jays, the Blue Jays, watch out for the Blue Jays, and then, they kind of come back to earth. Watch out for the Mariners. They fall out of first place in their division.
I rode that wave for a second.
There's no doubt about team in the American League right now. And so that in mind, sure, make the investment, buy in. Why not? I bet in preseason on their wins over to win the division. I didn't go so far as to they're going to win the World Series, but
why not?
Last I checked,
Go all
30 to
in.
1 odds in case you want to take one of your coffees and throw it into the mix. But what say you, Boston? Would you put any money on the Red Sox going to the World Series, or do you just have a little bit of hope that they are playing closer and closer to being World Series contenders? Give us a call at 617-790-0928 or send us a tweet at #NessInChat while you digest the Red Sox staying red hot and maybe going to a World Series. We got trending topics on the other side of this break right here on Boston is Under the Chat. Back at it live from the Salem 5 studio. You are watching Boston is Under the Chat. Kasey Hudson, Adam Kaufman, Lucy Burdge to take you around what's trending in the world of sports. But first, we have a nugget from our friend Adam Kaufman here that we did not get to when we were just talking about, I don't know, the best way to approach the Red Sox. What do you got for us?
Well, look, Lucy was giving out bets
Yes.
surrounding this Red Sox game, and I think if we're going to bet this Red Sox game, the way I would want to attack it is run line. If you're unfamiliar with what that means, the Red Sox win by multiple runs, okay? Not by one, by multiple. So you take the -1.5. You get that in the vicinity of even money right now, maybe -105. But just to give you the trends are our friends, at least until they're not, right? There were stretches this year where it's, man, can the Red Sox get some runs for Garrett Crochet? And that has kind of subsided a little bit, I think, as the offense has come alive. When Garrett Crochet starts this year, have they won every one of his starts? Of course they haven't. But when they have won, that's 17 games. 15 of the 17 the Red Sox have won by multiple runs. Okay, 15 of 17 they have won by multiple runs. So if nothing else, you're getting some value on that -105, that vicinity again.
I am a fan of it, and I think that's the best way for this Red Sox team to put the nail in the coffin versus the Orioles and move on. Speaking of moving on, it is time for trends. And how about Patriots kicker Andy Borregales finding out that he made the Patriots team via social media? Nobody called him, or at least he didn't answer the phone call. His emails could be spammed out, so clearly he's not checking those. Well, no. Andrew Callahan lets us know that he found out via social media. Lucy, this is the world that we live in now. You find out things about yourself and others when you just log in.
Yeah, this is, as you said, the world we're living in now of social media, where perhaps this was a case of one of those rats that Vrabel has been talking about in the system, who is releasing all of this information before he has time to even call individual players and say, hey, you made the team, hey, you didn't make the team, hey, your life is now changed. And you find out about that. Not only did it not say that he made the team, it was by process of elimination. By finding out that Parker Romo did not make the team, he didn't even find out definitively. It was more of an assumption he had to make.
Yikes.
Because of this. Like, oh, I guess I made the team, I guess, because he said it's conflicting when you see one of your teammates didn't make the team, and that means success for you. And he said when he saw that, he was like, I got a little excited because I'm like, all right, that means I got the job, but I've known Parker for maybe 6 years, so I felt bad for him at the end of the day.
Boy.
So it's this conflicting, like, oh, I'm finding this out impersonally, but also it's good news for me, bad news for my friend and teammate who I've known for a long time. So there's a lot of conflicting emotions. You could imagine going through his mind. But in the end, good for him. But he said also it's a business, and we both knew it was coming. But he didn't know it was coming because he found out through social media. So it is an interesting way to find out that you did or didn't get a job.
Just a little bit more sweat added to it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have minded a camera on Borregales, because usually when you have these guys that are getting their moment, locking in the roster, you see it roll out in front of you. But what would you make of him finding out versus social media?
First of all, I can't say his name as well as you can, so every time I want to say it, I'm just going to point, and we'll do it that way.
It's the Venezuelan genes. They have to come out a little bit.
So listen, Andy
Borregales.
Thank you. Was ultimately the stronger kicker throughout camp, going back to OTAs, minicamp. The field goal percentage rate was generally comparable. Both these guys made about 86, 87% of their field goals along the way. But there's no disputing that along the ways, we got closer and closer to where we are now. And when cut-down day came and decisions had to be made, Andy
Borregales.
Thank you. Had to, he got the lion's share of the workload. He had that much more to do at that point in time. And so I think I don't know, I haven't spoken with him, but I think the writing was kind of on the wall that he was going to be the one between the two. But let's remember also, he is a rookie. he could very easily, we don't want this, but he could very easily get off to a slow start, and all of a sudden they're looking at kicking options, elsewhere. Like, Romo could be back, whether it's on the practice squad or whether it's on this roster. We've seen the Patriots go through multiple kickers in a season before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this, I think Marco Sturm probably got an insight ahead of Andy Borregalis, knowing that he is a part of this team, but he was hanging out with Mike Vrabel. We love to see the communities combined. Marco Sturm in the building shaking hands with Vrabes. And I'm a big fan of this because we are just seeing a declared new era across a number of sports here in Boston. New head coach for the Bruins, new head coach for the Patriots. I feel like they can rally each other and kind of bring some more optimism versus pessimism because there's a lot of change going on in New England. But I'm just getting here, Adam. Tell me about this new change and how optimistic we should or should not be.
Well, I think that, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of optimism surrounding Boston's winter sports teams at the professional level. With the injury situation surrounding the Boston Celtics and a lot of people looking at it as a lost year without Jason Tatum, that is assuming he doesn't return. That's not written in stone.
It
maybe, just maybe, right? He beats science and has this miraculous recovery. We'll find out. But absent that, you're talking about a team that either doesn't make the playoffs, maybe actively doesn't want to, is tanking, or is in the play-in tournament, or maybe, just maybe, finds its way into a top six, goes a round or two. It's not a championship contender. And honestly, the Bruins in this new era under Marco Sturm do not enter the season with a whole lot of optimism either. But what I do like, as it's like the whole love is in the air vibe, right? You like Marco Sturm being down at camp in the same way that previously Joe Mazzulla, the Celtics head coach, was down at camp, and others have made their way during the many years that Bill Belichick would welcome people not named John Bon Jovi onto camp, as part of this Boston sports community. Coaches from BC who, that type of thing. Like, this is a very supportive sports city, sports culture. You see guys appearing regularly at games of teams they do not play for. It's Julian Edelman was practically a Celtics season ticket holder. David Ortiz as well. You love to see it. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, Marco Sturm looked so happy in those pictures that the Patriots tweeted out of him at practice. He looked giddy to be there. And then they asked him about it and your experience and all that. And he said that this was the first time since he was a Bruins player that he was at Gillette. And he said everything looks bigger and newer and nicer. Yeah, thanks to the success of Tom Brady. You have literally that to thank for it. So thank you, Tom Brady.
And a statue to grace the
which is garbage,
too.
By the way. The statue stinks.
Oh, I disagree.
But the stadium itself, the lighthouse, it's fine. It's whatever.
Actually, you guys
the
can
head
hold
is too
on.
small.
You guys can hold on to those thoughts for just a second because trending in topic number 3, the NFL is loosening its rules on Tom Brady, said Statue Man, on his broadcasting preparation. Per Bleacher Report, Brady will be allowed to attend production meetings with players and coaches. He still will not be allowed to attend team practices. And I think there's also some barriers in terms of in-person versus not in-person. Who knows? But, why? That's my question. I think that's the only question I have.
This is all so stupid. It's all so dumb that Tom Brady is even a number one broadcaster on a crew for Fox. And it's not because, obviously, he's you would think he would be there on some level of broadcasting merit, right? And that does, I get it. I know how it works. I know how the world works. Tom Brady is a brand. But did people really tune in to Fox games last year after the first few anyway?
He got ridiculed
because
for
Tom Brady was on the broad. Right,
yeah.
because he wasn't open. He wasn't sharing. He wasn't bringing all of that incredible knowledge and experience from the field to the broadcast. It was rather passive and kind of dull. And then you couple that with the fact that these ridiculous rules that he can't be. I know they've loosened some of these, but when this was introduced, can't criticize teams or referees as a commentator, an analyst. You can't enter team facilities except for the Raiders. You can't attend other teams' practices. I know it's been loosened. You can't attend pregame production meetings in person or virtually. How about you can't broadcast games? Or you can't be a minority owner? Because otherwise, what's the point? It all conflicts.
How about you just don't?
You just don't. It does feel like a lot. It's too much stuff. Once you get to too much stuff, you're like, okay, something needs to change here. I do believe and have believed kind of from the beginning. Of course, Tom Brady can do whatever he wants because he's a god. I love Tom Brady. He's got to pick one. You have to. Somebody had to say to him, pick one.
Get in
you
a
either
lane.
own an NFL team or you are a broadcaster. You can't do both. And I felt from the beginning that the vibes, I know you're not a vibes guy, but the vibes I got from Tom Brady, knowing him as I do, that he...
I don't know, it was just kind of the way you've said vibes a few times.
Well, so I don't think he enjoys broadcasting, and maybe he does, but the vibes I got was that he wanted to broadcast so that he could be part of the game still, and he was clinging as much as he could to still being part of the NFL.
Or
and broadcasting,
$325 million.
or that too. You know, you
All right, you've got 10 seconds to talk about the vibe of the statue. Go.
The vibe of the statue is terrible. It's bad. The vibe is bad, and it should be better. The head should be bigger, and it should be a different pose.
Kaufman. All right. I said boring, but you know what? Of course, you can always give your opinion. 617-790-0928. It's time to get further into the football conversation. We got Jon Lyons with the throw, and hopefully us with the catch. On the other side of this break, or this quick break here on Boston has entered the chat. I had the weakest arms for that. That was rough.
Catch.
Be teased of the drama no more. It's time to get into a breakup that could have been messier, but got a little messy yesterday. As y'all know, the official 53-man roster came out at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Kendrick Bourne made it, to some surprises, but then we find out that he was potentially amongst trading rumors and then other things to later on request to be released or something of that matter. Doesn't matter, because we brought in Jon Lyons to break down the Patriots drama with us here on Boston has entered the chat. First and foremost, Jon, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on once again. Looking forward to diving into this Patriots roster.
Yes, we have enjoyed doing the football talk with you for the past few weeks. So, of course, I've got to come off the top rope here. What did you hear about this Kendrick Bourne drama and why it led to him, eventually no longer being on the roster as of yesterday?
Yeah, this whole situation to me, Kasey, is really unfortunate because you go back to 2021, he had 800 yards receiving, looked like a big piece potentially of this offense, and then in 2022 finds himself in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge's doghouse, still not really sure why. 2023 gets injured last year, working his way back, but just wasn't quite there. And then I was there at training camp this year, and there were a couple moments where he looked good, but it never looked like he was better than, say, Stephon Diggs or Kayshon Boutte or any of those guys at the top of the depth chart. Then he gets hurt. Now he's released. I think the natural fit for him is San Francisco, and I think the Patriots, the reports, they tried to trade him to Minnesota. I wouldn't be surprised if they had conversations with San Francisco as well, but you look at just where his place on the roster would be, and again, great guy, had a good early impression in New England, but I just don't think there was much of a fit for him with this roster because Stephon Diggs is going to be ready for week 1. Kayshon Boutte's had a great camp. Demario Douglas plays, exclusively in the slot too. So I just don't know if there was really a fit at the top for him, and Matt Collins and Kyle Williams also earned spots. So again, I just don't think there was a great fit. I'm not surprised they weren't able to find a trading partner, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he's on San Francisco or Minnesota within, the next couple days or so.
Yeah, listen, I'm glad he's gone. I am. Not because I don't think he's a serviceable player, not because I think he's a bad dude, bad locker room guy, anything like that. I'm just tired of the years-long conversation, Jon, surrounding Kendrick Bourne going to be on the roster? You think Kendrick Bourne's going to be released? You going to ask for his release? Is he, is he going to ask out? Blah, 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 blah. What I want to know is, there was all the panic, obviously, off that initial 53-man roster. 8 wide receivers made this team. And then, obviously, in the blink of an eye, it's down to 6 now. But I want to know about the next one. I want to know if the money freed up in getting rid of Kendrick Bourne increases the likelihood of the reunion that I've been clamoring for since before it was even a divorce, bringing back Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers, I think, would be a great fit to come back at him. And not just because he was good here in the past, but we're talking about a guy that had a career high in receptions and receiving yards last year, still only 28 years old, obviously been successful with Josh McDaniels in multiple places, New England and Vegas, at this point in his career. But also, I think a lot of people think of Jacoby Myers as just a slot guy, and that hasn't been the case. The last 2 years, he's played the majority of his snaps on the outside. So he can play on the outside. He can play in the slot. He can essentially line up wherever Josh McDaniels or Mike Vrabel would want him to. And as I mentioned before, we've seen the production there. So I think it would be a great fit. And if you look at also just the type of receivers that they have, he would be kind of unique for them, and not just his versatility that I mentioned, but Demario Douglas is the smaller, shiftier type slot guy, whereas Myers, if he lines up in the slot, He's a bigger guy, does a great job finding open holes in coverages, also is a really good blocker as well, and they can use him in different personnel groups in addition to that. So I think it would be a great fit to bring him back. Because, again, I know I mentioned Stephon Diggs earlier, and I know he's going to come back week 1, but there's no guarantee he's going to be fully ready to go the first month of the season. Maybe he takes some time to work his way back up to being at least that number 2 caliber receiver that a lot of people hope he can be. And Myers would be there in the meantime. And also, too, he'd be insurance that even though Kayshon Boutte has had a great training camp, once the regular season comes, if he has some struggles, he'd be further insurance there. So I would love to have Jakobi Meyers back. I think it makes a lot of sense for several different reasons, and I hope the Patriots, go in that direction.
So with this Kendrick Bourne drama, it was reportedly that he requested to be released, but Vrabel said this was news to him. There are rats in the organization that Vrabel said that there are rats that he has to find, has to smoke out. Is this going to be a problem going forward for Vrabel? Will he take control of this? The rats that he is trying to find that are leaking information, like the Polk news, that he needs to take a hold of, and is he going to do that? And is this going to be an issue going forward?
Yeah, I think no coach is going to have the level of autonomy and control and power that Bill Belichick had for at least the second half of his career. But I also don't think you want things as wide open as they were last year under Gerard Mayo, where Matt Judon's having a temper tantrum on the practice field in front of everybody to Mayo. So I think you want something maybe in the middle of that, probably closer to the Belichick end of it. And I think that's what Vrabel wants. And I think what's happening is he's running into some forces that aren't fully allowing him to do that. Like you mentioned the Polk news and even the Bourne news. Maybe that came from someone in the building, but just as likely, it could have come from an agent or a family member or a friend. And that's something that Mike Vrabel has no control over, and I'm sure he's probably pretty frustrated by that. But I think eventually he'll work his way to having a significant amount of control and power in that building. But I think early on, you might see, occasional leaks like this. And if you go back, and I know it was a long time ago, but if you go back to Bill Belichick's first couple of years or so, I'm sure there were more people talking to the media and things kind of being out there than, say, in 2015, 2016, 2017. So again, I think it's kind of a natural thing with a new coach, and there's some turnover in the roster as well. And a lot of these guys, too, like Kendrick Bourne, is not necessarily a Mike Vrabel guy. He was brought here under Bill Belichick and, of course, played here with Mayo. Same thing with Jalen Polk, right? He was brought here by Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo. So some of these guys, too, not Vrabel guys, not really a fit. Like if I was Kendrick Bourne, I'd probably want to be released, too. At best, he was going to be the 7th receiver and probably not play that much, as I alluded to before. Now he has a chance to sign somewhere and hopefully contribute. So I understand from Bourne's perspective why he would want to be released. I understand from Vrabel's perspective why he doesn't want anyone saying anything to the media at all. So I think you just saw a clash of it there. I do think Vrabel, though, to answer your question, over the course of the next several years, will get control of it. I just think you'll see a few bumps kind of early on.
Yeah, Vrabel will make sure that it happens. My thing is, I believe that Bourne just wanted a more solidified role where he knows he's going to get the reps that he wants, but then he also supposedly wanted a slight increase in money or a little bit more money to his name. But you can't ask for both when you're coming off of a prove-it season. That's for sure. Now, before we get to the new cutlet in town, I want to go over one more thing, for this wide receiving room, because, of course, as Adam alluded to earlier, 8 was just blowing all of our minds 48 hours ago. Now it cuts down to roughly about 6. You're looking at Diggs, Boutte, Hollins, Douglas, Williams, Chisholm, and then Polk on IR saves them some of that room. But are we not giving enough love and discussion to Matt Collins and how he can kind of level up this wide receiving room? Because it was kind of talked about when all the shuffling was going around of what to make of this room. And a couple of reporters are saying this probably is one of the better wide receiving rooms New England has had in quite some time. Walk me through that. This is not my verbiage. I am repeating what has been said. So do we need to put more respect on the name of Matt Collins? Hollins.
Yeah, look, Kasey, you say one of the better receiving rooms the Patriots have had in recent years. As we know, better doesn't equate to good, right? So, I mean, it'll be better than it was
Before
a year ago.
anybody goes crazy either. Let's just get that clear. This is not me saying this. Continue, John.
Right. We're talking about a team that was maybe the 31st receiver group last year. So if they can get to 23rd, like that, it's better, but it's still the 23rd receiving room in the league. Yeah. And when it comes to Mac Hollins, look, he's 6'4", big bodied guy. They don't have another player like that in their receiving room that at least has performed on a semi-consistent basis. I mean, he hasn't really ever broken out. He showed a little bit last year in Buffalo, especially in the playoffs. But I think he's a guy that if he's your fourth or fifth guy, you're kind of okay. If they're relying on him to win a bunch of games, I don't know if you really love the position they're in with that. So I think his best asset is the fact that he's 6'4", he's big, he's physical, and they just don't have another guy like that. Like Diggs is not a super big guy. Obviously, Douglas is small. Booty is not huge. I mean, he's bigger than someone like Douglas, but he's not huge. Kyle Williams is not a big guy either. So it's just a valuable guy to have. And this is a team that over the last 3 years has struggled a lot in the red zone. They've been near but 2022, they're at the bottom of the league. Last year, they were wildly inconsistent in the red zone at the bottom of the league for most of the year. So if he can help with that, then I think it'll be a great asset for them to have. But I wouldn't expect him to have 50 or 60 catches and have this big contribution. I think, again, the best thing about him is his size, which is something they don't have. It'll help them in the red zone. It'll help them with contested catches. It'll help them, maybe in some short yardage-ish situations. But again, I still think their top three receivers are Diggs, Booty, and Douglas. And then it's Hollins, then it's Williams, then it's Chisholm. And then depending on if they keep Javon Baker around, if he can kind of carve out some sort of role, I don't really expect that. But again, I think Hollins, his ceiling to me is probably to be, maybe their third, but probably their fourth guy.
So the reason that so many of us, one of the main reasons that a lot of us are, high on the Patriots going into this year, it's not that receiving core,
no?
obviously. No, it's
that
Drake,
better room,
Adam? It is an improved room. It's a sad state of affairs, but it is an improved room. Right. No, it's Drake May, obviously, and hoping that Drake May has the ability to lift other guys up around him, which is why them going out, the Patriots, and getting Tommy DeVito, who, he was fun for a minute last
Adding
year.
some food to the table.
Look, there are going to be North End jokes. There already are. There are going to be Providence jokes. There's the direct, link to Sean Stellato, who's a Salem native, obviously his agent, who you saw there in the fedora on the sidelines, constantly there in Jersey last year. It's a fun story, I guess, but it means nothing, John. Is he an improvement over Josh Dobbs? Maybe. But if this team loses at any stretch Drake May, they're doomed. They're doomed. So Drake May is ultimately going to be the straw that stirs the drink, or whatever bad analogy we want to use. If Tommy Cutlets here is seeing any meaningful time on the field for this team, it's an issue.
Are we in trouble?
Not are we. We are in trouble. So, break glass in case of emergency. So ultimately, is he even going to be on the roster halfway through the year? What does this mean now?
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. There's a pretty big gap between Drake May and their backup quarterbacks, whether it's Dobbs, whether it's DeVito. You saw that in the preseason games. I mean, how many times did Josh Dobbs either throw a ball high or throw a ball behind a receiver? I mean, Kyle Williams probably would have had 5 or 6 catches in the preseason and didn't have any because the ball couldn't get to him, right? And no fault of his own. So, look, when it comes to their backup quarterback situation, and I would argue this, how many teams in the NFL actually feel good about their backup quarterback situation? It's pretty rare. I mean, you saw a team in Minnesota a couple weeks ago in joint practices that last year had Darnold and McCarthy before McCarthy got hurt. They probably felt good then, but it's pretty rare for a team to actually feel good about their backup situation. But if you're the Patriots, there's a real gap there between May and Dobbs, and if it were to be DeVito, May and DeVito. And this is an offense too, and I know I'm stating the obvious here, but this is an offense that even more than others, they're going to need the quarterback to play well, right? We're not talking about all pros on the offensive line. We're not talking about great receivers. We're not, and look, I like Travion Henderson a lot. Hopefully Stevenson can have a bounce back year. I think that's a good group, and I think Hunter Henry is a good player, but that we're not talking about the Detroit Lions or Philadelphia Eagles supporting cast here, guys. So they're going to need the quarterback to play well if they're going to be successful, and I don't see DeVito doing that. I don't see Dobbs doing that. I mean, maybe if Drake May had to miss 4 games, Could you go 1-3 with Josh Dobbs? Maybe 1-3 with DeVito. Maybe. I mean, a better backup quarterback. Could you go 2-2 perhaps? But I just don't see a lot of options out there. I mean, after that preseason game, I was hoping the Giants would cut Jameis Winston because that would have been my first choice, but they were smart enough to keep him around and cut DeVito. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't see them having any success if Drake May gets hurt. And a lot of it has to do with Drake May, I think, has shown promise this camp, but also the supporting cast around him is just not built to support a quarterback that's not playing well.
Look, I'm really excited. I'm really excited that Tommy DeVito's on the team. I'm excited about this. I think Sean Stellato was great, and that he's from Salem. And
it is a fun story.
It's fun, and I think this is the most fun backup quarterback situation the Patriots have had, besides Bailey Zappi singing Stacey's mom. So I am excited about it. And the Patriots win total for the season set at 8.5. Over or under? Jon Lyons, what do you say? Will they win over 8.5 games or under?
Yeah, I'm at 9 right now, so I'll give you the over on that. And my reasoning is we're talking about a team that's won 8 games combined in the last 2 years, right? It's been pretty rough. Oof. But if you go back and look, a couple of years ago, they lost 13 games. I think 8 of them were one-possession losses. Even last year, as bad as things were, we're talking a loss in overtime to Seattle, a one-possession loss to Miami. Like, they were in a lot of these games, especially 2 years ago, and I expect their defense to play much closer to the way it did 2 years ago than last year. So I think their defense will be better. I think their offense, I think Drake May is going to be better. I think their supporting cast on offense, again, not great, as I mentioned before, but it is better than last year. And if you combine that with the schedule they have, I think you'll see some opportunities. Like, I don't expect them to lose to Tennessee in overtime again like they did a year ago. I think they're better than Cleveland. I think they're better than Carolina. I think, they'll probably split with the Jets and Dolphins. I mean, that right there is 5 wins. I'm not telling you guys they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. They're a long way from that. But, again, I see 9 wins here, and it goes along with the roster is better. I expect the defense to play better. And a lot of those stupid things they've done the last couple of years where they've lost games on the margins, whether it's missed field goals or penalties or missed blocks or whatever, I don't expect a lot of that to happen with Mike Vrabel. Now, some of it will because they are a young team and they don't have a ton of depth. But I don't expect them to constantly make those stupid mistakes that they made, especially last year, that cost them a bunch of games. So to answer your question, I'm at 9 right now. I'd bet the over. I think it's the schedule. I think it's the rosters a little bit better. And I think you can't overstate the improvement they're going to have in the coaching staff as well.
Sticking with defense for a second, or actually for our last question, Braden Swinson, who was considered a 5th-round steal, not making the 53-man roster, but now having the ability to be on the practice squad. Do you think that he can kind of get a little bit of a second chance here? Had an inconsistent training camp, but some fans were high on his growth and him being a part of this Patriots team.
Yeah, I was a little surprised they cut him, and Ponder was better than him in camp, in fairness. But Braden Swinson's a guy that last year was a second-team All-SEC player, and he played more snaps last year than the previous 2 years combined. Like, this is just a guy that needs more experience, more development. I'm a little concerned that the team's going to try to claim him, and he won't make it to the Patriots practice squad. I hope he does, because that's a guy that I think if you develop him over the course of this year, and I mentioned Mike Vrabel and his coaching ability already, if you develop a guy like Swinson over the course of this year, I think he could be a real solid player for the Patriots in the future. It's just a matter of if he's able to stick around, because the ability is there. I mentioned the increased amount of snaps last year alone. I mean, he had 43 quarterback hurries last year. I mean, he was excellent when it came to rushing the passer. I think he's got to improve a little bit when it comes to his run defense, and some of that will come with development. So he's a guy definitely I would love to see stick around as a developmental piece. And for a team that has so many young guys, especially on offense, I think it would make sense for them to try to develop some of these younger defenders, because in a year or two, when some of these young offensive players are really hitting their stride and the Patriots are in a better place, you want to have some defensive players that are kind of in the same point in their career also hitting their stride. And again, I think Swinson, you were right, Kasey, he was inconsistent in training camp, but I think if you look at his limited chances in college, especially last year, and the talent that's there, that's a guy that I hope they find a way to keep around.
Yep, we love to see the development of the young guys. Jon Lyons, as always, a pleasure to chat with you about all things, but today specifically being football. We'll definitely catch up with you again soon here on Boston's Under the Chat.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, That makes us a little bit more optimistic, or at least we have answers to some of our questions and we can die down the dramatics. I say it 100 times here on Boston's in the Chat, not a reality TV gal, but I don't have to be because sports just continues to keep us in all sorts of realms of drama. And we wish the best of luck to Kendrick Bourne, as you said. Good dude, and they said that the locker room response, fantastic. People love being friends with him, but that's just the business, as they say. Lucy already started bringing up some bets, but these two are going to see how well they can cook and if they can get me to buy in on their breakfast bets coming up here on Boston is Under the Chat. And if you have thoughts on bets, the Patriots or the Red Sox being red hot, call us 617-790-0928 or hashtag Nest in Chat. Don't go anywhere. Join us back here on Boston is Under the Chat on the other side of this break. Back at it with Boston has entered the chat live from Sailor 5 Studio, and we're going to see how well Kasey can protect her bank account from these two. It's time to get into some breakfast bets, and look, we have a reunion with Adam Kaufman. You have tried to convince me to do betting before, and you maybe kind of got me there once. And Lucy and I have done plenty of betting in the past, so I defer to you, dear friend. What's your first bet to convince me on today?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with one that it might be popular because of what's going on in the news lately, and I don't know if this is people's first thought when they see the news that Taylor and Travis are, of course, engaged to be married. I don't know if you saw.
I had no idea where we were going.
Did you see this? Do you know who they are? Do you want me to?
I only got 17 alerts on my phone.
Yes, from everybody. Adam Schefter was on this as well. I mean, it does cross-pollinate sports and pop culture, so it's kind of perfect, and does lead maybe some to look at the odds for the Chiefs' Super Bowl win this season. That, of course, would be the first thing I think a lot of Swifties looked at when they saw this news. But their odds right now, plus 850 for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. You have this narrative of the engagement. The Chiefs also, pretty good team, and perhaps is Taylor Swift performing the Super Bowl halftime show. Would this be the most perfect script for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl?
It's a love story.
850, a love story. Just say yes.
It's a love story.
Yeah.
My answer?
I would love your answer, please.
It's a no thanks for me. Oh, you can't really see it. No thanks.
No from her dog.
But honestly, I know. Give me a proper thing here. I usually have a whiteboard. I'm going to go with the no thanks. Still love you, though.
Right.
It's just my hate against the Chiefs, that's all. I just want to see something different. I want different.
That's fair.
Look, I get it. It's, she got her ring. Maybe he gets another one. Could be his last season playing. It's a little stroll down narrative street. Yeah, I don't want any part of it either. No, I don't.
It's not your love story.
It's definitely not my love story. Kasey, I'm going to knock the desk over. You are going to pretty much think of me as your bookie, and you're going to slide the money right across the table. That's how excited you're going to be about this.
Let's try this
Let's bring it close to home. Let's bring close to home with the New England Patriots. Now, if I'm high on the Pats, means I'm high on Drake May, right?
Right.
And I could look toward his touchdown prop or his passing yards prop. No, I'm going to look at his sort of sparsely available rushing yards prop, which opened at 475.5. I now have seen it bet up to 500.5. Now, think about this for just a minute. Think about what we saw last year. He appeared in 13 games, started a dozen of those, and didn't make it all the way through all of them either. He also had a dysfunctional coaching staff, led obviously by Gerard Mayo, and in particular, in terms of May's usage, Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator, who really not a very good, not a very experienced play caller. Now you have Josh McDaniels, who is going to open up the playbook and get creative with this kid. Josh McDaniels, who turned Mac Jones as a rookie into a de facto process by elimination Pro Bowler because enough guys said no. 500.5 is your number once again. Now, last year, in those 13 games, 12 starts, 421 on 54 carries. 54, however, only a half dozen were actually designed runs. Only one true Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson type design run, not the, fourth and short, third and short kind of thing where you're just trying to push your way into a yard, basically. That's an average of 7.8 yards per carry.
All right.
32.5 yards per game last year when they weren't even using him as a runner. If you project that out over a 17-game healthy season, that is 550.5. That clears that number if they use him the way they used him last year. This year, he's going to be a runner.
Oh, I love the design of it. I'm not a degenerate, but I am into it. You can take my quarters. That much I'll give you.
Take those quarters.
Okay, really quickly, you guys can potentially give me one more sell. Lucy.
I got one more for you here, Kasey. Patriots to win the AFC East, to win the division, plus 475. There's
Josh
some
Allen
value
getting
here.
hit by a car?
Yeah, well, okay, this is what
She's banking on cutlets.
Okay, the Bills, minus 330 to win the division. No value there. So if
That's
you were
true.
looking down
That's a
the board
empty
and
tank
you
of
are
money.
exactly, you're rooting for the Patriots here. You think that Drake May will have a jump this season from his rookie year. You don't think Tommy DeVito is going to play at all, which bodes well for the Patriots for him to not do that. You think that Mike Vrabel at the top here can instill a locker room presence that is of leadership and connectivity, and this team will perform well together, and you believe in Will Campbell and you believe in Drake May. Patriots to win the AFC East.
You know what, Lucy? I'll give you one of my weekly coffees. That's all I got for you.
Love that. I'll take it.
What did they
What's
say?
a coffee go for now?
$8.
$13.
Eight and some change. What do you got for me for 8 and some change?
All right. Well, if we split the difference in the cost there and call it $10, I'm going to give you over 9.5 wins. 10 wins for the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, they are coming off of back-to-back.
You think their defense is going to help them finally stay in some games?
Hear me out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
They're coming off of back-to-back 9 and 8 seasons. So again, we are below the 10. Now, that first one was with barely any Joe Burrow because he was hurt. And last year, like you said, it was with a train wreck of a defense.
Yep.
All your key offensive personnel is back. Joe Burrow, who was one of the best quarterbacks in all of football last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jamar Chase, who was one of the best wide receivers on the planet.
No contract woes.
T. Higgins, no contract woes for either of those guys. Chase Brown, who came on and was excellent. So I have no concerns whatsoever about that offense. The defense, which you rose, very fair.
Right.
Awful last year. Lou Anarumo, gone. They have replaced him with Notre Dame's Al Golden. Comes in, great reputation, obviously great defensive success there in college. They also in the offseason prioritized that side of the ball. Let me give you some names. Oren Burks, TJ Slayton, Shamar Stewart, Demetrius Knight Jr. Have I mentioned Trey Hendrickson got his new contract after leading the league last year with 17.5 sacks. So defense. Does it need to be great? It doesn't. They were like 28th or 29th last year.
If they could get up to
20th, which seems like a dramatic climb, 20th, you've got yourself a 10, 11, 12 win team.
All right. So would you say that Hendrickson deciding to stay in his toxic relationship with the Bengals, maybe he makes a case because he only got 1 year and a little bit more cheddar. So could he be
$30 million for the 1 year? He's ecstatic.
Okay. And he could make a case to stick around a little bit longer.
Couldn't be in a better mood.
Couldn't be in a better mood. Well, let us know y'all's thoughts when it comes to your best bets.
Do I get your money?
Yeah, where's my coffee?
I'll give you one coffee. Oh my gosh.
We each get a coffee?
You each get a coffee. We got to temper expectations.
Right, you owe me about $25.
Maybe. Let's see what you guys may or may not owe Adam and Lucy. Let us know your thoughts. 617-790-0928 of what best bets you would take. But the party doesn't stop here. No, we're heading over to Nesson Nation at 9 a.m. As you guys know, you catch us here 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Nesson Nation, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join us over there. And then you guys remember that all the great news Monday through Friday here on Boston has entered the chat. I already told you where to catch it. So we'll see all of you guys over on Nesson Nation.